discussion among these 6 young financial planners. And we hope at the very end we can answer some of your questions. With that, I'll turn it over to my co-host, Dan Lash, who will kind of introduce everybody, and then we'll take it from there.
Hello. My name is Dan Lash. I'm 1997 economics, BS in economics graduate from Mason. I've been in the financial planning profession since 1996. And part of this series, I was on the previous panel in April, if some of you attended. But for this one, we wanted to have some recent grads as opposed to really old grads talking about how they got into the profession and, you know, just sort of how their path went from recently graduating or graduating in less than 20 years so that they can give you a little background. I'll ask each one of them to give you a little background about themselves and when they graduated and degree and things like that. And then we'll go into questions. I have some questions prepared, but also for everybody attending, please put in the group chat a question that you'd like to have an answer to. We want to make this as interactive as possible and answer the questions that you have, not just the ones that we prepared. I'm sure the ones we have are going to be helpful, but you may have a specific question that you want to know about as far as, you know, getting the degree and getting into the profession and things like that. So with that, Belle, do you want to start us off?
Sure. My name is Belle Osvath. I graduated from George Mason in 2006 with a Bachelor of Science in Economics as well. I had a minor in writing and a minor in art. I worked for about a year as a paraplanner for a financial advisor in Tyson's Corner. And then the big market meltdown happened and I ended up switching careers. I worked as an instructional designer for about 7 years, which was a very interesting path, but it wasn't something that I was very passionate about. So about 6 or 7 years ago, I got back into the financial planning profession. I am now currently I'm a CFP and I am also an AIF. I hold the accredited investment fiduciary designation. So that's where I am. I'm currently a financial planner servicing clients. I also work as a portfolio manager for our founding partners' clients. So I sort of do a dual role. And that's me.
All right, we'll move on to Ellery.
Hi, everybody. My name is Ellery Burnett. I graduated last year, so 2015. I mean, wait, I'm sorry, 2019. 2015 was too long ago. And I am not yet a CFP, but that is my track. I interned for about a year at Ameriprise, which landed me a job. And I was there for, I would say, 9 or so months. And then I transferred careers right over to Edison Financial Engines, where I'm currently a CSA on track to be a CFP.
Nice. Clifford?
Hi, so I graduated December 2019. And the summer before that, I started an internship with Ameriprise as well, which I stayed on until last Friday, so a little bit over a year. Now I'm going to finish my CFA as soon as I can. I'm taking level 2 in December, and then try and stick with wealth management and find a job up here in New York City. So.
Jacob?
Yes, my name is Jacob Talaria, and I graduated from GMU in 2014, and actually got into the field. I worked as a financial advisor, and I got into the field of finance in 2012, May of 2012. That summer, I started an internship with a financial advisor that I met at an event at Mason at Business Fest, which is an event that's smaller than the annual job fair that they have there. And as I mentioned, I graduated in 2014 with a degree in finance, and I have 8 years of experience in working in the field. I actually started working as a financial advisor myself within the past few years, I came on as an intern originally in 2012. Really just learned how to get clients um, by learning on the job at the time. And over the years, I got my licenses to become a financial advisor myself, my Series 7 and 66 and Life and Health. And the next one would actually be for me to get CFP. Haven't quite gotten there yet, but that's the plan. That's the future plan to get the CFP.
Nice. Ali.
Thank you, Dan. Hello, everyone. My name is Ali Kahil. I'm a spring 2019 graduate of the School of Business, graduated with a degree in finance and a minor in global affairs. Currently a tax and financial analyst at Crescent. It's a $10 billion national RIA, and happy to be here.
Thanks. Krista.
All right, so I'm Krista McWhorter. I also graduated in December of 2019. So just like Ellery and Clifford, I also interned at Ameriprise before I graduated. After I graduated, I actually did transition into a full-time position with Ameriprise. And as of right now, I am pursuing some certifications to become a financial planning specialist.
Great. Well, I don't see any questions yet from the group, but I'll throw one out there since we're trying to promote the financial planning and wealth management track at George Mason. One of the questions I had was, do you think being able to get the degree in financial planning and wealth management, which would allow you to sit for the CFP, would that have made a difference in your job search after graduation, as opposed to it not being available to me or anybody else up until this time? Krista?
I think absolutely having that certification, it gives you a step forward in compared to just graduating with a bachelor's in finance. I know that a lot of planning certifications do require certain classes, just the basic financial program at Mason didn't offer. So definitely it would be a head start from where I am now.
And if any of you else on the pen, go ahead.
Yeah, can I add to that?
Sure.
I definitely agree with Krista. I think that having a financial planning track would be a huge benefit. I know that I think it's one of the schools in Virginia also has one, and I worked with somebody who had an actual financial planning degree, and they just kind of had a leg up on everything. And if we were able to give that to Mason students like we are now, I think that's going to help them really excel and really kind of get on a deeper level of what financial planning is rather than just general finance.
I would like to add something as well, if I may. So when I was at Mason, there was a personal finance elective, which really just taught about personal finance and different things about investments and how to manage your cash flow and such. Pretty basic stuff. And I liked that class a lot. I would have loved if there was if there were more classes like that. There is not alone a CFP class, because it goes much deeper. I would think a CFP class would go much deeper into personal finance than that. I think one credit elective ever could.
I'd also like to add something. I think that I definitely would have gone that route if it had been available to me before I graduated, because it allows you to get a better sense of what financial planning is if you're able to take those classes, because the degree of finance at this point is really broad, which is important. It's important to have like a broad understanding of finance in general, but having that specialization to really dive into wealth management and what concepts are really important for that career path would be really advantageous to someone who wants to get into that career field.
Yeah, and for me, on a purely selfish level, it would have been nice to be able to sit for the exam and not have to spend all the time on the coursework ahead of time, because it is quite a bit of coursework that you have to do outside of college to even be able to be eligible to sit for the CFP exam. So that would have been very nice for me.
I can certainly echo that. I think being able to save all that time being able to graduate and then immediately sit for the CFP is certainly more ideal than going for another 4 to 6 months of additional education.
And working full time, yeah.
And working full time, exactly.
Yeah. And I had 2 kids when I did it. So what made, everybody has different reasons why they wanted to get into the profession. Sometimes it's by accident. Obviously, if you're not getting a degree in that particular field, you're sort of deviating a little bit, like a degree in economics or accounting or finance, to be a personal financial planner. What were some of the reasons why, either personally or professionally, that you wanted to get into the financial planning, profession?
Sure.
Krista?
Oh, my bad.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Do you want to go first, or?
Nah, go ahead.
Okay. Well, for me personally, I wanted to be able to do my own personal finances. So it was kind of more of a personal reason in which I went in this field. I wanted to be able to basically map out my own finances, plan out my retirement, kind of get an understanding of what I was working with. And I figured if I could do it myself, why not help other people? That's kind of me into this.
That's awesome. I have to say, Krista, I have the complete opposite answer. I absolutely was by accident. I applied to so many internships my junior year, and one of the few internships I did get selected for was via Ameriprise, and it was this financial planning internship. And I really didn't have an idea of what financial planning was, and then I realized that it was the way that I wanted to go, because I had been in customer service my entire life, and that combines that with managing finances and with the numbers and everything. And I think I really fell into a great path for myself.
I know for me, when I was in school, I had 2 internships early on. One was in aeronautic valuation, and then the other one was with a nonprofit. And the third one, the final one in my senior year, was with a wealth management firm. And what drew me to that was being able to help and watch others succeed. And I think that was kind of like the main driver and pull for me. And I stuck around.
Well, it looks like we got a question from, oh, go ahead, sorry.
I was just gonna share my reason. So I just like to teach people. I like to help people and teach people. And I feel like there's not very much education in personal finance with the vast majority of people these days. It's just something that they don't teach in regular schools. So I see the reason I got into becoming a financial advisor is because I like to teach that. I like to help make an impact on folks to hopefully change that. Hopefully teach them how to properly manage their finances and how to create financial security long term.
Great. So it looks like we got a question from one of the attendees, and it's really about how do you get clients. So it says, in the structure of financial planning, is it customary to find clients yourself, or are there firms that have clients that reach out to the company? Belle, you want to sort of, I don't know, elaborate on that, I guess? I guess it's different with different firms, obviously.
Yeah, so it is different with different firms. It depends on really how your firm is structured. The way our firm is structured is we have quite a few advisors that fall under our company name is BLP Financial Advisors, and we do marketing for the company. For the most part, we have been very successful in purchasing retiring advisors' businesses. So in that way, we've been able to actually acquire entire books of business, and some of our newer reps have gotten business that way. We also have referrals. That's a big source. Cold calling doesn't work the way it used to. That used to be the bread and butter for a lot of advisors, where they'd go and just pick up the phone and just call as many people as they could and try to get them in. They'd try to get family members in. And that I know people that work in a profession and do try to acquire business that way. I can tell you it's very, very hard. So that is something that you want to ask the firm when you're interviewing. how are you expected to get clients? Are you expected to get them on your own? Especially when you're younger, it's very hard because your peers are usually your age and they don't have much money. And most of our business, most of our money is made by assets under management. So that is a really important question. And I think that's something that you need to discuss wherever you're working if you're stepping into an advisor role. But it might be, I mean, that's in my company. I don't know how it is in everybody else's company and how they are expected to pull in business.
Yeah, so since I worked for two companies in the last year, I kind of have an advantage in the way that I've seen two different advisors do it. And in the first company that I worked in, my planner was much older, and he was definitely part of the cold calling, which doesn't work now, like you said. But his main way of gaining new clients was through providing excellent client service, and he got recommendations. And so that was his main stream of getting his clients. The company that I currently work at is a bit more of, I would say, like a company structure where they do get leads in and the leads get assigned to the planners. And I know that's kind of like for the bigger firms, that's how it kind of is.
Well, I actually
Jacob?
wanted to add to,
Sorry, go ahead, Krista.
I wanted to add to that, for the company that I work for, one of the financial planners, he's a bit younger. So he's actually been doing a lot of networking through LinkedIn. And so he sends like invites to people and then says, you know, hey, if you want to come in for a free consultation. So he's actually been really successful with that. I know that some of our older advisors haven't really tried it, but I think that just because it's more relevant to his experience, he's been really successful with pulling people in through LinkedIn.
So for me, it's how I get clients. It's actually been, I've been exploring many different things. The clients I have been able to work with, I've gotten through just calling people in my network, people that I know, and maybe getting a referral or so from them. But I actually am in pretty early stages of my financial advising career. As I mentioned, I've been working in the field for 8 years, but just became a financial advisor just a couple of years ago. So I'm still trying to grow my business. And one thing that I'm looking at is, so I work for LPL Financial, and they have a lot of banks and credit unions that are affiliated with them. And what they do is they offer investment services to these banks and credit unions at times, and they can use financial advisors that they have to do that. So that's one route that I'm looking at. Another another opportunity that presented itself actually today was that there's a radio show, a guy named Dave Ramsey who has a radio show. A lot of people call in and they ask for they ask for advice related to their personal finance. And he's not a financial advisor anymore. I think at one point he was, and now he has a radio show. But he tells people, he has advisors that he refers people to if they want to get more individualized one-on-one coaching. And I actually just heard back from them today because I applied a few weeks ago to become a financial advisor that gets referrals from them. I'm going to be interviewing with them again. I'm going to be interviewing with them next week to find out more because they just told me today that there's open. And also LinkedIn, I have been using LinkedIn, as Krista mentioned LinkedIn, so I have been actually using that to message people, especially during COVID, because I used to go to networking events, like the Chamber of Commerce or pretty much anywhere that I could find networking events. But now with COVID, a lot of that stuff has gotten shut down or has become virtual. So ever since then, I have started using LinkedIn to message folks.
I'd also like to add on to what Belle was saying about the age issue. Yes, part of it is that your peers your age, when you're first starting out, they don't have as much money. But I think another important factor is that they just don't care. You know, they're just coming out of college. They're not looking at retirement the same way that older clients are. So I think a good career track for someone that's just coming out of college that wants to get into wealth management would be to work for another advisor who already has a client base. And then as that advisor gets older, they're going to start looking at trying to sell their book of business, which is also what Belle was saying, which is essentially their retirement plan. Because they've, spent a long time building up their client base, and now that they're ready to retire, they're going to want to sell that book of business. And if you are there working at that firm, you are probably first in line to buy that book of business, and then you'll have a client base that is your own, that you can grow through referrals or marketing or whatever.
Yeah, I think what most people don't know is there is no Coca-Cola financial planning for the most part. Financial planning is, there's large firms like an LPL or Ameriprise, but then they're broken up into smaller teams of people who are doing it on their own. So there's lots of people who are just doing it by themselves as financial planners. They do everything. And then there's some, larger firms. Our firm has 17 people, and we're still not really that big, but we're considered somewhat larger. Ali, you're with a pretty big firm. How many employees there roughly?
150 and growing.
Okay.
So
that's
it's definitely in a structure where, a large firm versus a small firm. I'm part of a very intricate web of support systems that help the advisors with their book of business on the family office services group.
Yeah, and your firm is considered large as far as the industry goes, and it's 150 employees, not 15,000 or 150,000 employees like a Boeing or something like that. But there are lots of employers who are hiring. Do you know if any of your firms are look to hire on a regular basis, or how do you see that?
We have many job postings right now, and if you apply to anything, feel free to send me a LinkedIn message or connect with Professor Horstmeyer, and I'll be happy to recommend you.
So there's some questions coming in. Is it likely to find an internship or a job without knowing how to code? You might be thinking it's a different. We don't do much coding in financial planning, so maybe that's a typo. So they asked about apprenticeships or internships. Most of you said you did some form of internship, but did most of you have interns within your firms, or how is that going with COVID?
Well,
Clifford, go ahead. Sorry.
I honestly feel like given COVID, internships are probably a little bit more difficult to come by. I know that for me, I've been working from home since basically March. So I know that when you are in an internship, it's basically getting that hands-on experience. And if you're not physically there, it's hard to get that. So I think definitely having an internship or an apprenticeship definitely helps. But in this environment, I think that the best you can do is probably like seminars or something like that.
And to kind of echo what Krista just mentioned, I also would not be afraid to potentially apply for entry-level roles. If we're to assume that we're going to be remote from now until, who knows when, you might be able to have a way where you could go to school in the evening virtually and work during the day. So don't just solely think that you could only get an internship. You may be able to get into a full-time or part-time position as well. So definitely keep all your options open.
Yeah, and I absolutely agree with Ali. I don't think that it should be any kind of discouraging factor. Currently, the market's going to be a little different than it has been, but I got my job during COVID. I have not stepped foot in my office, and I do think that it's possible. And even if it doesn't land you the job, it shows initiative to a company that you're willing to keep pursuing what you want to do, whether it's an internship or career in an environment like this.
I'd like to add something real quick. Yeah, I think it's definitely possible. There's definitely opportunities out there. And just kind of to play devil's advocate a little bit, I will say that it's not quite the same experience. I've been working from home for the past few months, and not having that face-to-face communication with your supervisor, especially when you're first starting out, it's really important to get that feedback, whether it's positive or negative. And it's just a little bit more difficult to do that when you're working remotely. So yeah, when you're first starting out, it's tough. It's not the same experience that you would get in person, but there's definitely opportunities available.
The only thing I think that I can add to that is just really just kind of echo what Ali said, that even an entry-level job or heck, an internship, maybe an entry-level job, the key is just to get some kind of work experience, something you can put on your resume. Your first job is probably not going to be your dream job, but the idea would just be to get work experience and build up to your dream job, so to speak.
And to build on what Jacob said, I think any kind of work you can do, even if it's not in the financial planning field, is always valuable. Having something on your resume, even though right now I'm sure jobs are even entry level or internships are really tough to get. I would say doing anything that's building your skills. So any kind of courses you can take, I believe you can sign up and start taking CFP courses on your own, even though you can't sit for the exam. All that is valuable. And it's basically when you're building your resume, you want to show that you have been actively upping your skills no matter what you're doing. See, even if you're waiting tables, you're interacting with people and just trying to figure out ways that you can get a little bit more skills. Just put something else on your resume, something that shines a little bit brighter than somebody else that's competing for the same job when you're starting out applying for jobs.
Yeah, and the cool thing with that is the baseline jobs that you could get in this environment that are considered essential services can build your customer service skills more than you would think. So I really like that.
Yeah. Another question I got, and I think this question can go both ways. It's really talking about what are you selling your expertise or are you selling products? And I think obviously that depends on the situation that you're in. If you're if you're in a firm like I'm not going to pick on anybody, but a New York Life or some sort of life insurance company where it's more geared towards selling life insurance, then obviously that's the case. But I assume most of your firms are doing planning. How are you getting compensated, or are you working on commissions and doing products? I think one of the students was interested about that.
Completely fee-based.
Okay. What does that mean? The kids may not know what I'm sorry, I call you kids, I apologize. The students may not know what fee-based means.
Sure. To echo your example a moment ago with New York Life, if I sell an insurance product that's commission-based, right, I am a salesperson, whereas in my firm, we work off of a flat fee agreement with the client. So we're selling our expertise. We're not selling a service. We're completely impartial.
And Ollie, what does that service entail? Is it just full-blown financial planning, asset management, all that stuff?
Sure. For Crescent, we're considered we're set up as a multifamily office. So you have basically a family office. A 50,000 foot overview is a conglomerate of many different disciplines within one offering. So that would be estate planning, financial planning, wealth management, tax, concierge, and the list goes on. But it's just kind of a smattering of many different offerings in one fee for the client.
Anybody else want to jump in on that?
Yeah, I can add to that. I think it depends a lot on both the advisor and on the client base. So selling annuities and life insurance products and stuff like that is kind of an old-fashioned sort of financial advising, I would say. So if you work for an older advisor or an older an older firm like New York Life or something like that, and your client base is older, then that's probably what you'll be doing. But yeah, the newer kind of financial advising seems to be services, so advice, and yeah, like what Ali was talking about, fee-based accounts where they pay, you know, a certain percentage of your account value, and you kind of do whatever they need you to do. It's a really comprehensive way of doing financial advice, whether instead of having a bunch of different fees for a bunch of different products, you just have one comprehensive plan. You do everything kind of under one umbrella and you charge one fee.
Belle, you want to add to that?
Sure. So in our firm, we can get paid two ways. So one way, we can just do an hourly fee. So if you want some advice, you want to meet with someone for a couple hours, you want to have just a one-off financial plan done where they work through all your investments, all your insurance, all your estate planning, and they prepare a plan that then we charge an hourly amount. And so we have some clients that come in that way. And then maybe once a year, every other year, we'll meet with them for an hour or two and we'll charge them for that time. The majority of our clients are fee-based, like everyone else was talking about. And the way we get paid is that we manage the money for whoever it is. And we charge a percentage of assets. Most firms charge around 1%, 1.5%, somewhere around there. And basically that covers managing the investments, creating and maintaining the financial plan. So when you initially meet with the client, you do the financial plan, you work through all their different ins and outs of their finances, and then you create a portfolio for them, and then ongoing, you're managing that portfolio. As they get older and close to retirement, you might make some changes to that portfolio and how it's allocated, but you're getting paid consistently from this portfolio. And as the portfolio does better and better, you get paid more and more as the portfolio grows. So it works out for both of you, because you really have a vested interest in having this account perform well and your clients succeed financially. When it comes to other firms that are really focused on selling products, that can get really tricky, and I think that's why it's sort of fading away, because you have a sort of conflict of interest, because what you want to do is make money, of course. So you might be more encouraged to sell someone a product that they don't necessarily need because you're making a commission on that product. So I think a lot of firms are shying away from that and moving more towards the hourly and the fee-based, because it does not present that same conflict of interest. And I think that's an important conversation to have if you're interviewing for a job. Not necessarily an internship, but if you're going to go work somewhere and you plan on staying there for a long time, it's good to have that conversation. And you can just ask them, how are your advisors compensated? And they should be able to pretty clearly tell you how they operate.
So
Jacob?
yeah, so the way our company operates is that most of our clients are fee-based, and we do comprehensive planning. That's what most of our clients do. We do have the ability to work with commissions as well. We have a few clients who go that route just because they don't necessarily, they may just be starting out, or they may not necessarily want to put together a full-blown financial plan at the moment. But as I mentioned, most of our clients are fee-based, and me personally, I'm actually on salary still and moving away from that as I'm getting more clients. So that's the way my setup is.
Well, that's a good transition. I'm sure some of the students would be interested to know what they could expect as far as salaries go in our profession. Coming right out of school, it's not the same as it is. And I'm not asking anybody to say, here's what I got paid, but what you saw or what you discussed with peers of what kind of ranges do you see, knowing that they're not going to be a financial planner, the first day they get a job, they're probably doing more back office paraplanning work and things like that. But clearly, knowing that there's a profession and what are people getting paid is probably of interest to the students. So if anybody wants to talk about that.
Yeah, sure. So as you said, when you enter, you're probably not going to be a financial planner immediately. With the back office stuff, I would say the ranges for the Northern Virginia area are probably anywhere between 50 and 70, kind of depending on what kind of company you're working for, is it big or small. And as you grow to be a financial planner, I do believe that it's less salary based and more commission based. But again, only speaking for somebody who is salary based, you at least have that fallback when you're doing the back end things that you will get paid stably. Wait, is that a word? Stably. Instead of having to go immediately into commissions, unless that's something that you would want to do in, as you said, like a New York life or something.
So from my experience, I actually started, as I mentioned, I got into the field when I was a sophomore or right after my sophomore year of college during that summer. And at the time I had the choice between two different internships at different companies. One of them was an unpaid internship, and the other offered minimum wage. I took the one that offered minimum wage. And, over the years, my pay went up significantly, and I'm mainly on salary now. And as I mentioned, shifting more towards commissions and fee-based pay. But yeah, at the beginning, it's for an internship, if you start, especially when you're in school, I would think that let's just say I was mainly there to get experience.
I can add to this as well. I think the range that Ellery gave of 50 to 70 sounds about right to me. 70 would be really high, just starting out. But I think it's easy to, kind of start at that 50 salary range and move up quickly if you show the advisor that you're working for that you'd be able to handle clients of your own, because you're working for them and they're still trying to expand their business, and they can only handle so many clients. They can only service so many clients. So as their business grows, they might be willing to kind of hand off some of their, I don't want to say, lower paying clients, I guess, or clients that have that produce non-recurring revenue. By that I mean they don't have fee-based accounts. They may just have brokerage accounts or whatever. And so, you might be able to pick up those clients from the advisor that you're working for and really quickly build a book of business of your own. And if you can convert some of those non-recurring revenues to fee-based accounts, if you can get referrals from that, if you work really hard on maybe not cold calling, but marketing and in other ways and expanding your network, you can definitely start making more money pretty quickly. This industry is pretty heavily based on how much time you're willing to put in on and how hard you work.
A tool that can be really helpful, LinkedIn has this functionality, and there's also a company called PayScale. You go in there, type in your zip code, type in how much experience you have, where you went to school, any certifications, etc. It'll go through this long diatribe of items, and at the end, it will spit out a salary. It'll tell you, on average, this is what you can expect. Now, granted, just because it shows you X number doesn't mean that that's the number that you're going to get offered, but it gives you a way to benchmark, are other advisors, are other planners getting paid competitively to me, or am I getting paid less? And that's a really great way to kind of scope out, are they being fair with their offer, or do I need to go back and negotiate for something higher when you're looking at that first job right out of school?
Yeah, and really to bounce off what Ali said, in terms of certifications, this came to mind when Jacob was saying the certifications he had. The SIE, which is the Securities Industry Essentials, I believe, is an exam that you are able to take without sponsorship, meaning that you don't need a company to sponsor you. This is the first step in getting your Series 7 and your Series 66. So I would highly recommend, if you have time while you are in school still, study for the SIE and do it. That's what I did, and it got me, I think, a step or two above everyone else.
Yeah, just so the students know, there's two tracks. You can be affiliated with a FINRA-related firm or an SEC-related firm. If you're FINRA-related, then you have to go get a Series 7 and some of these other securities licenses. If you're SEC, you just need to get your 65, which allows you to charge fees, essentially. So it depends on the firm that you go work for. That'll dictate what types of licenses you have to get. Not one is better than the other. However, some companies might say they are better than the other, but they're just different. Why are there two organizations that we have to deal with? That's up for another conversation. But I got another question, I guess more of a day-to-day thing. Do you execute your own trades when you're making trades for clients or when you're investing money for clients? Some firms, if they're smaller, obviously they might be doing it themselves, and some, if they're larger, they might have a team of people who are doing it. What's that like for you guys? Krista?
I know that for our firm, we do a lot of block trades for our clients. We have them invested into different portfolios. And so for those portfolios, when we change them, we just change everyone that's in that block portfolio. And we have it kind of structured so that every day at like 3 p.m., we just do all the trades. And so again, it's not like individual trades per account. It's just one, you set it all up and then hit the trade and it just goes through. So.
Okay.
Yeah, I've done that. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Oh, sorry. I do know that we, for the clients that are in their individual brokerage accounts, they'll actually do the trades on their own, or they'll call us and we'll do individual trades. But on the whole, we don't generally do one trade here, one trade there. So.
And I really do think it depends, again, on firm to firm, if it's a bigger firm and it has a team. Because I've been at a firm actually with Ameriprise, franchise of Ameriprise, we did those individual trades where if a client wanted to sell this, they would have to call in and verbally confirm, which is something that is just kind of the norm. And at my current firm, we just submit a request to let them know what to trade and then they take care of it. So I think that's kind of a firm by firm question that would be beneficial asking them if you're curious.
Yeah, certainly. When you interview, go ahead, Jacob.
Yeah, I was just gonna say for me, for most of our accounts, the larger accounts, we have a money manager who does that for us. We block trade. If we have a smaller account that's too small for the money manager to run, then we'll just do that individually.
Yeah, and some firms have what they call discretion, and others don't have discretion. If you have discretion over client accounts, essentially the client's giving you the ability to make trades on their behalf. And some firms have that discretion and some don't. Another question I got from one of the students: how often do individuals switch from a financial analyst related position into a planning or other way around? I don't know if that's related to a paraplanner. Josh, is that like a paraplanner or just an analyst who's looking at investments? You guys, we can start on that a little bit, see if he follows up with us.
I can take that one. I can just speak for me because I'm currently in a tax and financial analyst position. I'm not on a planning track as we speak, but the benefit of the position that I'm in is that it allows me to work with our planning group, it allows me to work with our tax group, and it gives me the ability to pivot in the sense that if I want to get a CFP, I can. If I want to get a CPA and work with our tax group, I can. And if I want to say no to either, I can also go and get the CFA designation that Clifford is working towards. So it allows me, I don't know, I can't speak to other people, but the cool thing about being an analyst, it allows you to have flexibility. Whereas if you start out as a planner, I can't speak to how hard it is to pivot away or pivot towards it, but it's an easy way to get a bird's eye view when you're just starting out. If you're unsure, you like the industry, but you're unsure about where you want to specialize.
Anybody else want to jump in on that? That was pretty concise, actually. Thank you. So we got a few more minutes. I guess one of the questions I ask everybody when we interview for internships or other things, I always ask them what they think the hardest part about being a financial planner is. And so I'd just be curious to see what you thought.
Sure. I would say 100% relationship management. Anybody can teach you the skills to make a trade, to open an account, to do any of that, and to do anything in the CFP. But if you don't have the soft skills to be able to communicate effectively with people and build and maintain and grow relationships, then it's not going to be a successful career path for you.
I agree 100% with that. The academic side of things, I think I learned a great deal of that at GMU. I would have learned even more if there was a CFP program that was that much further ahead. But as far as the soft skills go, it's actually building relationships and building clients, getting out there, networking and such. It's something that's a little more difficult to teach. So yeah, I would say I would agree 100% with I would agree 100% with what you said.
So you're also part psychiatrist or psychologist when it comes to, you know, having conversations with couples and things like that?
Absolutely. You deal with marriage and divorce and death, and these are things that you need to understand to be empathetic about. If you don't know how to sympathize with somebody who has just lost a husband or a wife, then it's going to be really hard for you to try to manage accounts and take them from joint to single and keep that client.
So another thing I'd like to add to that is that behavior is ridiculously important when it comes to whether or not you're going to be financially successful. I've heard different studies quoted here and there saying that behavior accounts for around 80 or 90% of your of whether or not you're financially successful. So yeah, helping people to manage behavior, to act, to make smart, helping people to make smart financial decisions as opposed to emotional decisions is huge. Behavior is, so yeah, at times you do have to act as a psychologist, so to speak, to help, to find out what really motivates people and help them to move towards that.
To kind of follow up on that point, because I think it's really crucial. And again, in this program that we're creating, this, you know, financial planning and wealth management program here at Mason, we're really trying to figure out ways to stress kind of the behavioral issues. Is there any way to really learn that, or is it just practice? Is it just practice talking to people? So I'll throw that out there. Is it just kind of you learn over time how to manage people's emotions? Is that the best way to do it?
I'd like to answer that if I could. I think a big part of it is watching other financial advisors. Practicing with people is obviously important, but also seeing people who are successful at this and seeing how they interact with their clients is hugely important. So yeah, practice is important, but definitely if you can find a mentor in this field or just find a successful financial planner and just kind of watch what they do, that's huge. That's very helpful.
So I've had a different experience where it wasn't so much the interaction with the clients and the emotional component, but just what falls under financial planning is such a big umbrella. I mean, you're talking everything from insurance to estate planning to looking at tax returns. I got a question today about student loan and dealing with the federal repayment and getting paid ahead status. There's a lot of things that your clients will come to you that you haven't heard of, or you learned it way back when you took your CFP, and then you have to go and do some research. So one of the things that is always challenging is you want to give the answer right away. So a skill that is really valuable and takes a little bit of time to learn is just being able to say, you know what, that's a good question, let me get back to you, and then doing the research on your own. And I think people's skill sets are different depending on how much you interact with people on a day-to-day basis. And I think some people, it's harder for them to deal with the emotional side of it. I always found that more easy, but when it comes to the granular nitty-gritty, it's a little bit more challenging for me. And also the laws and the regulations change constantly. So even something that you knew last year that was accurate might not be accurate this year. So there's a lot of pieces to it going either way. But that was just my experience.
Yeah, there's a lot of books out there on the psychology of money that you can read, and just the psychology of dealing with people. And there's a lot of emphasis on that inside our industry today. And Derek, that was one of the things we talked about, of having hopefully some component of a class that's talking about the psychology of money, why people behave the way they do. We say buy low, sell high, and then everybody does the exact opposite. Why do they do that? Because of their emotional attachments to money. As advisors, a lot of times we are helping them to not make the wrong, ensure that they're not making the wrong decision because they're making an emotional decision. So it's something to think about. Thanks, Ellery. I appreciate that. She likes the idea of psychology of money.
One class, Dan, that I really liked when I was at Mason was behavioral economics, and it teaches a lot of these concepts that we're talking about, and being able to understand on a psychological level how people tick. And to just kind of answer your original question, Dan, about learning how to communicate, I'd say bar none, nobody's going to remember how hard you worked. They're only going to remember how well you treated others, so it's making sure that you take the time to develop that emotional intelligence, develop those communication skills. And it's totally okay if this is not something that you're strong, that's a strong suit for you, but recognizing that it's not a strong suit and working on it now while you're still in an academic setting. So by the time you're in your first internship or about to enter your first job, you can nail it right from the get-go.
Yeah. We got a few more minutes. I'm pretty much out of questions, and I haven't seen any from others. Is there anything any of you want to add to the students, a tidbit about, what you like about the profession? I mean, we talked about some of these things already, but any follow-ups that you want to give to them and encourage them to? I don't know if, Derek, are all these students already in the program, or are some learning about it today? Do we know?
So yeah, great. We have Jason Howell, who I see has joined. Jason Howell will be teaching our Intro to Financial Planning class. And so I have a number of students here. We have about 25 that have signed up for that class, to get the program going. And I see a number of them are here on this call. So hopefully this is a great way for them to learn, right off the bat about what they're getting into and kind of what they can expect. But yeah, I think a great way to wrap up this, because we have 5 minutes left, would just be to go around and have any, last bits of advice for people that are entering this field, or anything you want to add at the very end here. And I guess we could start with Belle.
Well, my general advice for people when you're just starting out in the workforce, when you're looking for internships especially, is just be very flexible. Know that because you take an internship in one particular area doesn't mean you're married to it. Just because you take an entry-level job somewhere doesn't mean you're going to be there for the rest of your career. I'm on the older side, so I've sort of seen a lot more than some of these younger people. And I can say that most people switch careers several times, especially in the first few years. So if this is something that you're interested in, I would say go ahead and go for it. It doesn't mean you have to do it for the rest of your life. And then when you enter your internship or your entry-level position, be flexible, be willing to do anything they ask of you, and give it your best shot. And just go above and beyond and try to learn as much as possible. And don't be afraid to ask why. instead of just mindlessly doing the work, because you'll just learn so much from the professionals. And I know I did starting out, and that's probably my most valuable advice for you guys.
Thanks, Belle. I'll turn it over next to Cliff.
Yeah, I'd just like to say what Belle was saying about the most difficult part of being a financial advisor is you have to know so much and there's new things every day. That's definitely true. And I also think it's what makes this such an interesting career because, you're not just sitting there punching numbers into an Excel spreadsheet all day or something like that. You'll get a call from, a client in Ohio about opening up a 529 plan one day, and then a call from someone else about getting a home equity line of credit the next, or, whatever. So it's something new every single day. You have to keep up with what's going on, the laws. It's a lot of research when clients ask questions like that, but it's really fun and it's really dynamic.
Great points. Next, we'll have Jacob.
Yes, so what I would like to add is if you're looking to work as a financial advisor or a financial planner, working with individual clients to help them to improve on their finances over time, I think one thing that's very important is to know how to take a complicated subject like finance, take all the intricacies of it, and make it simple. Break it down to bite-sized pieces for clients to understand. Because one thing about having a great deal of knowledge about something is that it can lead you to become a little less empathetic to somebody who doesn't necessarily know as much as you. So it's important to understand that clients that you're working with, they may have, even wealthy clients that you work with may not necessarily know a whole lot about personal finance or how investments work or how a certain life insurance policy works. They may not be the most financially literate, even though they may be great as engineers or they may be great at whatever their profession is. So I think the real takeaway from my piece of advice would be to just know how to take a complicated subject and make it simple. It's kind of like what Steve Jobs used to say. I'm going to paraphrase something he said about keeping things simple, but he said something along the lines of, it's simple is beautiful, simple is brilliant. If you, it can be very difficult to get your thinking to be clean and to make things simple, but it's worth it at the end because if you do, you can move mountains.
Great. Thank you, Jacob. No, the points of, having empathy and understanding that you may have very bright clients who have money, but they don't understand basic finance. I mean, my father is in banking, and I have to constantly convince him not to put all his money just into gold. So, it's weird. You're going to get people that have very weird views on how to save their money. All right, Krista.
So I would say, definitely don't get discouraged. I know that given COVID, maybe there's some issues where you think that maybe you won't find kind of what you're looking for just because you won't have the internship experience. But again, just keep looking. Any kind of entry level, any sort of experience. I know that for me, this is actually sort of like a second career. I originally went to school for psychology, so it actually benefited me because I do have that background with emotional intelligence. But just making sure that this is a good fit for you. And if maybe you're having doubts, don't get discouraged because again, you have plenty of time. Just kind of try your best and see if this is a good fit. And if not, you can always do what I did and find something that works best for you. So.
Great word. Ellery?
Sure. I just want to say this is my favorite part of the session. I think all of the advice that we've received from the former 4 people is awesome. Best advice. I want to say 2 quick things. I cannot stress enough, again, what Krista said. Emotional intelligence and the customer service aspect of this career are so important, and they will guarantee that you exceed. And then I want to say for any women who are here, go you, congrats. This is a minority field, and I'm so proud, and don't let anybody tell you that you can't do it because you can. Thank you.
Great.
Amen.
Yep. Yeah. No, 100%. And for those who are listening, we're putting together a financial advisory board to kind of help our new program here, and we're hoping to get 5 or 6 women on that board. So yeah, to really promote this as a path for women in the School of Business here at Mason and for first generation people. So we're making a real effort to kind of have as many people. And again, Jason Howell, who's here, will be the chair of that board that's supporting the new program here. There he is. He just jumped on. And he's also teaching our first class. So we're asking a lot of Jason, but
yeah, you're welcome. Look forward to meeting a lot of you.
Yeah. And finally, Ali, any little bits of advice?
I don't really have advice, but I'll just kind of speak real quickly about my journey. I've always liked myself as somebody who's remarkably unremarkable. And what I mean by that is I am where I am today by, there's been people along the line, be it a professor, somebody in an internship, a supervisor who's kind of helped guided me along the way. So, I owe my success to where I am today because of others. So kind of take that as you will. Thank you all for joining us today.
Thanks, Ali. And I wouldn't say remarkably unremarkable. You were on CNBC. Come on, that's pretty good. I haven't been on CNBC yet, talking about investments. So
give it a few more years.
Yet.
Great stuff, everyone. Thank you again for Carrie Willigan for putting this together through the ProfessionalQuest seminar series. And again, thank you, Dan, for moderating this. This was great. If anybody out there that's listening has questions about our new program or just the life of a financial planner, please feel free to reach out to myself, or I'm sure any of our panelists too. If you have specific questions, they will definitely, email. You can email them anytime. Danny, last words, or should I just close it out?
No, I think that was great. I
right.
encourage all the students who are in the program to tell everybody else about the program. It's my goal to try to get this to be the best program in not just the state of Virginia, but in the country. And so I've spent the last 4 years trying to get the program started, and I'm happy to see that it's up and running at this point.
Yes.
And good luck this semester with everything that's going on.
Yeah, COVID threw a little bit of a wrench in things, but again, for anybody so again, Dan and Jason have been really spearheading this from the beginning, and so we're incredibly grateful to them. And again, if you have any questions about the program, please reach out to any of us. And I would just want to thank everybody for their questions in chat, and for our panelists for attending. Thank you all, and I'm sure we'll see each other shortly. All right. Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye. Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye.